Okay, good morning. We're back. We had a slight hiatus for the summer. Everybody was just reporting on their great summer plans. It was beautiful color. We got look at this. Gila Klippenhoff entered the waiting room. This is very exciting, very exciting. Oh, Gila Klippenhoff is here. Gila Klippenhoff is joining. I miss her a little. I can tell. I don't know if you can tell that. Oh, hi, Gila Klippenhoff.
Hi.
Okay, so she's here. That means that she's not, in the shuk right now. Obviously, because she's shtaging every night in the Beis Medrash. I'm sorry, in the Beit Midrash. Okay, so we're gonna pick up where we left off. And again, I have the maps. I'll put when I get to it, I'll put at the end, I'll put the map on the screen as well. But just to give a recap of the beginning of chapter 10, remember that the Jewish people had made a pact with the Gibeonites, the Givonim, and then when they attacked the Gibeonites, they had the Israelites, the Bnei Israel had to respond. So we saw this is the beginning of chapter 10 is the southern conquest. So there's going to be two conquests, conquest of the south, so when we say south of Israel, so using my new handy dandy bandy. By the way, this also just, that how they always talk, the tour guides always say that Israel like a fist, because it's the mountain, the mountain, the valley. So when you look at it this way, in the different sections, see, and you can see it's low, it's high, it's low, it's high, like the fist. Okay. The coolest place by far, that I was this summer. Let me see if it's on here. It's not really on here. I gave a whole sermon about it just only because my car broke down in Akko, which was not fun. But if you go to like right around here in this area, okay, there's a place called Alfei Menashe. Alfei Menashe, which is right below like Kalkilia. What do we say? Alfei Menashe. Alfei Menashe, and it's a beautiful yeshuv, and it's actually way over the green line, but you wouldn't even know if you went there because the highways, and the reason why people live there is because it's so inexpensive, not for ideological reasons or anything. But there's a lookout, there's a mitzpeh, where on a clear day you could see, of course, all the way to the sea, all the way up, you could see all the way to the mountains, but it gives you the great view of what they call the narrow waistline of Israel, and why, for security reasons and for topographical reasons, etc., it's so important to have this part of Israel under our control. And because if not, and you can see the planes taking off from the airport. I mean, it's wild. So if you ever have a chance to see it, it's highly worthwhile. But so we talk about the southern conquest. So we're looking at here, when they come in, and he's where we're situated in Gilgal. If you could see here on the map, on your map, so you have Gilgal. Gilgal is like right by Yericho. So Yericho is here. So they're going to go start here and then take care of this part below. And then in the next chapter, we're going to see them take part this part and up. Okay. And strategically, we'll see at the end of this lesson, hopefully, strategically how Yehoshua and the armies cut off the top from the bottom. I don't know a lot about military strategy. I don't know a lot about anything. But I just know what I can read. Anyway, so we'll come back to that. So the five kings, they unite against Givon. Remember, Yehoshua makes the sun stop. Hashemesh b'Givon Dom, and we have all that. Shemesh b'Givon Dom v'Yarech b'Emek Ayalon. The sun will stand still at Givon, and the moon in the valley of Ayalon. When you hear Ayalon, all you hear about you think of is, and Shelley. The what? Ayalon Institute. But Shelley, who's on, will tell you that it probably, what you're listening to the traffic reports, which is driving in and out of the Tel Aviv area, is Ayalon Darom, Ayalon Safon. It's everything talks about the traffic backups. Ad Machlef LaGuardia, ad Kakal, which is kind of Kamet. So that's the main highway they're going through. But Tel Aviv area is called the Ayalon Safon, Ayalon Darom. But that's because it's the Ayalon Valley. So even and I geek out about it all the time. I can't get enough of it. But every street name, everything in Israel has a meaning, has a purpose. They can't figure out how to make a shower that won't get all over you every time you take a shower or flood the floor or the neighbors downstairs. But we could figure out how to make a microchip out of a bubblegum wrapper, right? So I don't know. But anyway, that's a whole Israel thing. So Yehoshua says that, fine. And he goes. So now we're going to let's go to Perek Yud Pasuk Tetvav. And I'll have you know, by the way, this morning that so Rabbi Reuben, who's still in Shloshim, he lost his mother. So he dams with us sometimes. He dams for the Amid in Shloshim, full on stuff. I'm just saying it right now, like full on, like not tough to stuff, okay? Because it's very different with damming. It's a very tough world to live in. You saw what I did there. Okay. Vayashav Yehoshua v'chol Yisrael imo. You have it 15. Yehoshua then returns with the entire camp to Gilgal. So they Hagilgala. So just by the way, from you have it verse 15. So from a grammatic Hebrew grammar point of view, sometimes when you add a hey at the end of the word, it's the same as instead of saying El Hagilgal, you could say Hagilgala, means to Gilgal. So we say Arza or we say Shamaima, things like that. You add a hey. Okay, fine. Vayanusu chameshes hamalachim ha'eleh vayechavuu b'mera'a b'makedah. So then the 5 kings, so they defeated their people, but the 5 kings who had come to support, what did they do? They retreated, and they were hiding in a cave in a place called Makedah. So let me actually, I'll put that on the screen for you here. It's on. Okay, so on this one here, on this bottom one, on the color one, if you see, there, I like the little like Stratego marks. Remember that game, the red Stratego, blue Stratego? So you see these places are going to be very important. Makedah. The other one on the other side is just really more of a broader picture of it, just to kind of give you the larger, shot of it. Does this have Makedah on it? Not really, but you could figure out Makedah is next to Lachish. Okay, Lachish, which you could still go to today, but Lachish is sort of parallel to Hebron. Okay, so Hebron, which is directly south of Jerusalem. So you have Jerusalem. Directly south of that is Bethlehem, and directly south of that is Hebron, of course. And the area between Bethlehem and Hebron is what is known as Gush Etzion, and sort of the drive through the Gush area. You have a new highway. They just opened it up actually in August, a newly expanded highway all the way to Hebron. Okay, but you see that directly west of that is Lachish, and here on this one, so you can see Lachish and then Makedah. So, and if we were to look at the terrain. Okay, this could not have come at a better time. So you see Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Gush Etzion, Kiryat Arba, which is Hebron. So you're talking about right over here, and on this map you could see here is Lachish. So Lachish, I'll pass this around, but Lachish is just sort of on the downslope. It's sort of where now you could go see into the desert from there. So if you look at it like right over there, now it is incredible to see it when you see it firsthand. So if you've ever gone, let's say, to Mount Scopus, Har Tzofim. So Har Tzofim, there was a time where that's the only place you could see the old city of Jerusalem. They didn't have access until 1967. Also from 1948 till 1967. But so Gila, tonight, go take a bus and go look at it. You'll see what I'm talking about. So when you go on top, on the one hand, if you go like on this side of the street, you're looking at the old city of Jerusalem. By the way, my ideal trip of how to show somebody Jerusalem or the old city of Jerusalem is to approach it from every angle before going. First, you go to Har Tzofim, and you look at the old city, and you could see it beautifully from right there. And then if you go on the other side of the street, though, it's like at the top of a mountain. You go to the other side, literally, you walk across the street. There's a little lookout there. You look, and you could see down into the desert. Already you start seeing towards Male Adumim and towards Yericho. And that's this, because you're standing on top of the ridge, okay? On top of the ridge, and on one way you can see the old city, and then you look at the other side, look, you can see down towards the forest, towards the desert. So that's why this area, Lachish, is going to be very, very important. I would start there, then I would go to the Has Promenade, which is on the Talpiot side, and you could look at Jerusalem from that way, where you could see from the Armon HaNetziv area, and you look at it there. Then I would go to Har HaZeisim, which they have is called the Gandhi Promenade. It's named after Rechavam Zevi. It's Mitzpeh Rechavam, where you could see Jerusalem towards that side from over the Mount of Olives into Jerusalem. And then I would go into Jerusalem proper. You go up on top of the Eish HaTorah building, and then you go down into the Kotel like that. That's the way to see it, because then you have to understand the significance of each direction and when it was conquered from which, et cetera, et cetera. So here, these kings now are hiding in a cave in that area of Makeda, right over here. Makeda, where my thing is swinging around there. Okay, so what happens? Vayugad Yehoshua lemor nimtzeu chameshes hamalachim nechbaim b'ma'ara b'Makeda. So there's intelligence, there are spies, there are reports going on, and Yehoshua finds out that we found the 5 kings, and they are hiding. Nechbaim is a simple word, to hide. They're hiding or they're concealed in a cave in Makeda. So if you are like in the process of destroying all these nations who tried to come against you or try to stick up against someone to try to go against you, what would you do if you found out the 5 leaders were all in one place? Well, nowadays we would just, put in the coordinates and trigger a bomb or something, we don't have to leave your seat. Just, you go to the drone operator who's sitting in the desert in Arizona, and he would go after them. Vayomer Yehoshua, so Yehoshua says, here's what we're going to do. Golu avanim gedalos el pi ha'ma'ara v'hafkito le'al anashim l'shamra. Take large stones and cover up the cave. Don't let them out. I don't know if they would have the ability to suffocate them, but certainly trap them in there. That's why he says you have to guard them to make sure that they somehow don't get out. V'atem al ta'amodu ridfu acharei avechem v'zinavtem osam al titanum lavo el areihem ki nasanam Hashem elokechem b'yedechem. But you don't stand still. Keep chasing your enemies. Attack their stragglers is the Art Scroll translation. We'll look at that in a second. Don't let them enter the cities because Hashem, your God, has delivered them into your hand. And this is going to be a common refrain, but we'll have to look at when Yehoshua says it's Hashem acting or when it seems like they're acting on their own. But how much godly interference is there? That's always the question. But the word here to go after the stragglers is v'zinavtem. It's a beautiful word. I don't know if you see how many times you see it in Tanakh or anywhere, but v'zinavtem, the Mitzudat Sion says, obviously, milashon Zanav, right? And this is appropriate for this time of year because I'm sure you have your menus planned. Do you have your simonim planned also? Do you do that?
I'm not really. I just wrote on the menu, like new fruit.
New fruit, but also like, you have to have the head of the fish and you have to have
We did my family growing up. And then my husband's family growing up. So it's
I want to go to your house. Now we have like simonim salads. It's a lot. It's a lot. I know. We have a lot of people at every meal, Baruch Hashem. But one of the things that we do is we have the head of a fish or the head of a lamb, and it says Shetiya l'rosh v'lo l'zanav, that you should be for a head. Chas v'shalom 1,000 times. First of all, I don't like fish at all. I will not. Lamb, fish, any of that, might not, please. Like, it's gross. We use like gummy bear jellyfish. That's what we use, and we cut those heads off. And those I eat with gusto. It's symbolic. Is it going to do anything for you? As my wife says, it doesn't hurt. We're very different in that regard, how we handle these things. She's a lot more. I'm a lot more litvish. I'm such a litvak, a cold litvak, like halacha, shulchan aruch.
You know the joke about. You know this joke about this guy was walking with his friend and he picked up a penny and his friend said to him, "Why'd you pick up that penny? Really believe that?" And he said, "No, but my grandmother said that it works even if you don't believe it."
Oh, there you go. Good. I like that. That's good. It works even if you don't believe it. So, okay. So the word here, v'zinav tem osam, from the word zanav, meaning those who are trailing or those who are tailing. It's interesting. It's a cool use of the word, which you don't see that often. Certainly not in a military context. Vayihi kechalos Yehoshua uvnei Yisrael hakosam makah gedolah ma'od ad tumam. Now, this is a very, very strong language here. That when Yehoshua and Bnei Yisrael, they finished striking them. You could say when they defeated them, but they struck them a makah gedolah, a major blow ad tumam, until they were wiped out. Tumam, it means the completion. And whatever remnants that were remained of them, they entered the fortified cities. The rest of the nation, they returned to the camp to Yehoshua and Makedah, because again, that's where they're holding these 5 kings. Bishalom, with peace. How much peace was there? And I love this. This is another great family story of ours. My daughter here is going to chuckle because she'll right away get it. Not even one wetted his tongue against any man of the children of Israel. So when you see that, you're thinking like, wait a minute, I know this phrase from somewhere. How do I know this phrase? Yechratz l'shono, where? Does it ring a bell? Anyone? Okay, so my wife, who again, amazing. I married way, way above my pay grade. There's no question about that. And every year I come to realize that more and more. But she grew up in a very yeshivish educational system. And one of the things that you're taught in the yeshivish educational system is that we don't like dogs. Very anti-dog, like no dog. So when we were dating, and ad hayom hazeh, until this day, whenever she sees a dog, she starts mumbling. She's like, what are you mumbling? Right? So she mumbles this pasuk from Shemos and Parshas Bo in the 12th chapter of Exodus. I'm sorry, in the 11th chapter in the 7th pasuk. And it's talking about how the people are starting to leave Egypt, and there was this plague of the firstborn, and everybody's screaming. There was such a screaming. Oh, you never heard such a thing in your life. And against the children of Israel, no dog shall wet its tongue against neither man nor beast, so that you will know that Hashem will have differentiated between Egypt and Israel. In other words, they were so untouchable that even a dog couldn't bark at you. So hence, when we walk by a dog, you say this pasuk over and over. That's where it comes from. It's like a very thing. But here also, the same phrase, meaning the Mefarshim point out here of lo yechatz l'shono is even a single person could not even insult, wouldn't even have the ability, or certainly physically, but even verbally, to abuse a Jewish person. That's how powerful they were. So it's a poetic way of expressing of, look how dominant they were in this situation. Okay. I just saw something this morning. So words matter, words hurt. I think it's worth pointing out. So I don't know if you guys follow the US Open at all.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I like watching the tennis. I only the US Open because it's this time of year and there's nothing else to do. And I'm not watching Wimbledon. I'm not watching the French Open. I'm certainly not watching the Australian Open, which is 3 days before it happens, right? Just the majors. But there was I put on a match last night. It was one match. It's almost at the quarterfinals. The last to finish the quarterfinals. There's a German guy versus an Italian guy. By the way, the match I didn't watch the whole thing. The match went 4 hours and 47 minutes. 4 hours and 47 minutes, something like that. And that was hot, sticky. In Queens. So right away, our inclination is, we're going to root for the Italian guy because I can't root for a German guy. So look at the news today, and I didn't stay up that late to watch it, but when he was serving the German guy, after he finished, he went over to the chair umpire and he said something, and he said, there's a guy here in the stands in like the first row who said a very offensive, like German nationalistic type of thing having to do with Hitler Yimach Shemo. And he goes, it's very disturbing. And they had the guy ejected. And he said afterwards, he says, I'm trying to play out here because I love the enthusiasm. When people say things, he goes, look, and I'm German. He goes, I'm not proud of that part of our history. Like I said out loud at his press conference, I'm not proud of that. And that has no place in our sport. I'm like, oh, right? Now I can root for this guy. He's got awesome hair. Really good long hair, like for a tennis player, when they wear the schmott on top like this. So anyway, so that he's like a new thing. So we're like,
Well, who won?
He won in 5 sets, and they traded sets to the last set and till 2 a.m. or something. Anyway, so that's lo yechatz l'shono. Vayomer Yehoshua pischu es pi ha'ma'ara v'hotziu elai es chamesh hamalachim ha'ela min ha'ma'ara. So Yeshua says, okay, open thine gate, meaning open the cave, and bring out these 5 kings from the cave. Vaya'asu kain, vayatzu elav es chamesh hamalachim ha'ela min ha'ma'ara, es melech Yerushalayim, es melech Hebron, es melech Yarmut, es melech Lachish, es melech Eglon. So he did so. They take out the 5 kings, and it tells you who they are. By the way, so if you look at your map here, you have it right there. You see, you have what's the first one, okay? And you could just see strategically where they're located. Melech Yerushalayim, we have right there. There's Jerusalem, Yevus. Melech Havron is down there, okay, a little south Jerusalem. Melech Yarmut, Jarmuth is up like west of Bethlehem. You could see it by Azekah. Melech Yarmut, Melech Lachish, which we saw. Lachish is down by Makedah, and Eglon is down here. So this sort of strategic region, all surrounding Jerusalem and south, all the kings and all of their environs are now conquered, right? So if you kind of look at this, like this whole region they get, he now has these 5 kings under his thumb, okay? And it's also good to see the names and when you put them on a map. Eglon, not to be confused with, we'll see later on, there's a king Eglon in Novi, but that's not this. Vayiko tziyam es hamalachim ha'ela el Yehoshua, vayikra Yehoshua el kol ish Yisrael, vayomer el kitzeinei anshe hamlachama hehalchu ito, kiravu simu es raglechem al tzavarei hamalachim ha'ela, vayikra vayisimu es raglechem al tzavarei. Very, very interesting procedure that takes place here. So they brought the kings to Yehoshua. Yehoshua calls all the men of Israel and also the officers, the ones who were in charge, the ones who were leading the battle for him, and he says to them, by the way, and it's an interesting, also the word hehalchu, look at the word hehalchu in Hebrew, in the middle of the pasuk, hehalchu with an aleph. You would say hehalchu, but it has hehalchu with an aleph at the end. The Radak says, and he just gives several examples where sometimes an added aleph is there, doesn't necessarily explain why, but just, like in that, specifically in that place, or something who were specifically with him at that occurrence. But so he tells them, put your feet on the necks of these kings. Literally, very weird. So what do you think that could be? So we have a saying in competition, like put your foot down on the gas, don't let up. Or there is an expression of placing your foot on someone's throat, right? Should we ask Google? What does it mean? Siri, hey Siri, anybody have a Siri? Let's see if Siri's with it.
Siri, what does it mean to put your foot on someone's throat?
Siri found something on the web. That's good.
English, it would mean to take someone down, either literally or figuratively. Imagine that you were fighting someone and they shoved you to the ground. Then they overpowered you and placed their foot on your throat. You would be powerless. Therefore, the metaphor means powerlessness.
Powerlessness. So that's exactly it. So that's where, by the way, so you want to know where does Siri get it from? Right here. Siri. Yeah, she's very touchy about that. But apparently I heard this today that if you have an Amazon thingy and Alexa, you could ask Alexa to give you a Ted Lasso quote of the day, if that's your thing. Anyway, we get all kinds of information you get here in this year. But he's saying, I want to show you, put your foot on the throat, showing utter powerlessness, because I want you to show how much we're in control and how little they're in control. And by the way, that's why he calls the Katsine, he calls in the officers, they have to feel a pride and accomplishment. Again, I don't think it's meant to degrade or to, as we'll see, by the way, what he does to them. It's just meant to send a message. It was meant to send a very, very, usually used physical symbols to give very visual and strong messages. So that's what they did. Vayomer alehem Yehoshua, al tiru v'al techasu, chizku v'imtzu ki chachi yaseh Hashem l'chol oivechem asher atem nechamim osam. So this is like the first big battle they've had, and they go and they get the kings and they killed everybody and they drove the rest of them out of the cities. And he says to them, he says, don't fear, don't lose your resolve. Be strong, chazak ve'amat, as we've seen a million times, certainly in the beginning of the Sefer. Why? Because this is how it's going to go for you. Again, contradistinction to what we saw, where they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and they were chased and they underestimated the enemy. But that's because they didn't follow Hashem's word. When somebody took from the story of Achan, here, when they did what they were supposed to do and they followed instructions, what's going to happen? Hashem says, Yehoshua says, Hashem's got you covered. You have to put in your effort. You have to do your thing, but you need to realize that Hashem's going to take care and win your battles for you. Okay. It's actually going to be one of the themes I'm going to cover over Rosh Hashanah. I'm going to give you a big preview since I don't think any of you are going to be here, so I can give you the. Can I do that? Is that for Rosh Hashanah? I have to make a speech on Rosh Hashanah. What should I talk about? What should I talk about? What do you think? Just talk about Judaism, Rabbi. One of the, but Shelley's here, but see, Shelley's and Shelley's actually listens everything that I'm not going to mute her. God forbid, I wouldn't do that. Mute Shelley. No, not Gila. Gila's the one who writes them for me. Rabbi Rubin sent me a letter because he saw Gila's Torah that she wrote in her seminary newsletter this week, and he saw it somehow, and he's like, "Wow, that was great." So I was a lot of nachas. Anyway,
Use that.
Yeah, but one of the things is that there is we have this sort of notion. Like, go back to the simonim, the magic button syndrome, where we think like all of a sudden, if we do this, like, oh, we're good. If I just eat chalav Yisrael for the 10 days, or if I just hear shofar 100 times, or if I just but so it's very easy, like when you talk about in these battles, to say, I'm going to sit back and God's going to take care of everything. All I have to do is no, you have to put in your work. You got to do the work. You have to do it. The jumping off point for that idea, Rabbi Shai Schachter sent me. There's an article. It's great from a lot of angles, but in 2018, CNN. Yes, I could get CNN on my computer, but CNN ran an article about how a majority of the cross the street buttons or elevator closing door buttons, they just don't work. The placebo effect, and they call it the placebo button, and it's done psychologically to make people feel better. We have lots of these.
Love pressing.
Yeah, and how many times have you gone in an elevator and it's clearly lit up, and then somebody walks in after and then pushes it again, as if like that's going to make it come faster? Or the button that says closed door, which does have, and they can't. The reason they can't do anything is a lot is because of the ADA, the American Disabilities Act. They have to let them be open a certain amount of seconds before they can close, so people who are disabled can get in, right? But right, so we think this. Oh, that's it. I'm gonna push it. Oh no, I'm gonna give tzedakah, and I'm gonna go to shul, and I'm good. I'll see Rabbi. I'll see you next year. By the way, next year doesn't have to come till October. Rosh Hashanah is October 3rd next year, so you don't even have to come. Okay, so I'll see, right? But it doesn't work like that. So when it comes to battle, yeah, Hashem's going to take care of you. But he says, because he's telling him from a negative point, don't be afraid. Look at these battles, but you still have to go to battle. You still have to do your part. Okay. So then, Vayakem Yehoshua Charechen v'Misem v'Yitlim al Chamisha Aitzim v'Yu Tuliyim al Aitzim ad ha'arev, and he struck them. And then he killed the kings. He hanged them on 5 gallows, and they remained there. That they were there until evening. And when the sun set, what happened? Yehoshua ordered them to lower the gallows, and they put them in the cave where they had hidden. They took the large stones, put them against the cave. And that's where they are until this very day. So I can imagine that somewhere there's a plaque, somewhere that here are the 5 kings, and we found the cave. I always thought that for sure. I thought for sure one day when I would go to Israel when I was a kid. I didn't go to Israel until I was 18 years old. My kids are much more fortunate in that regard. And I thought that I would be like walking in the desert and I would stumble on a glass case with a little plaque that said, "Here is Lot's wife," in a glass case being preserved in salt doing this. Like that, turning around, looking like, for sure that would happen. I've yet to find it. They think they maybe have found, but so I don't know if this is high on the list of archaeological desires, because I'm sure there's a huge list. They just need the funding to do it. I took the family this summer also. I was amazed because I actually found a place that none of them had ever been to. None of them. I went to Herodian. You ever go to Herodian? Herodian is super cool. It was like Herod's summer palace. It's right south of it's near Beit Lechem. It's on the way to the Gush. Super cool. But I hadn't been there. Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff there. But I hadn't been there in 30 years, and they since have redid it. And the archaeologist who worked on it, it was his life's passion, and he worked on it, and he found it. They knew it was there, but they actually found Herod's tomb. He turned it from a summer palace. He made them destroy it and turn it to his tomb. He's buried there. They found his tomb. And like the week after he discovered it, Nebuch, this archaeologist, he fell off a ledge there and he died in 2018 or something like that. So it's very recent. It's a lot of steps. amazing interactive displays, movies, whatever, and the view, forget about it. But the history, it's just really super cool of that period. So there's the 5 rocks. There's the 5 kings behind the rocks. So I don't know. Okay. So now we're going to go through the places. And now that we got rid of the kings and most of their people, what about their actual places? Yehoshua So Yehoshua captured Makedah. Makedah was not one of the 5 who was in the original band, but they joined in the fray nonetheless. So they defeated Makedah by the sword, and they killed the king, and they killed everybody was there. They didn't leave a remnant, and they did to the king of Makedah as they done to the king of Yericho. So if anybody's going to tell you that the Jewish nation, they're nice, peace-loving, and kumbaya singing nation, I'm sorry, just read these psukim. That is not the case. There is blood and guts and gore everywhere, okay? Vayavor Yehoshua V'chol Yisrael imo miMakedah livna v'yilachem im livna. So then he goes from Makedah to Livna. So if you want to look on the map here, Makedah is there. You go a little bit northwest towards Livna. Okay, Livna, not to be confused with Labana, the delectable Israeli dairy treat, which I don't eat. And they went and they did battle with Livna. Vayitein Hashem gam osam biyad Yisrael ves Malka vayakel lefi chorev ves kol hanefesh asher bo lo hishir basarid vayas Malka kasher asel lemelech Yericho. And he went over from Makkah to Livna. He did war. Hashem also delivered it into the hand of Israel. They smote it by the edge of the sword, and everybody there, they didn't leave a remnant. They did to the king like they did to Yericho. And then they went from Livna to Lachish. Okay, so just follow the dots here. Livna to Lachish. Vayavar Yehoshua v'chol Yisrael imam Livna Lachisha. There it is, Lachisha. If you add the hey, that's the same as El Lachish, Lachisha. Vayichan aleha v'yelachem sham. And they camped there, and they did battle there. Vayiten Hashem es Lachish biyad Yisrael v'yilkadah b'yom hasheni v'yakel lefi charev v'chol hanefesh haba v'chol asher asel leLibna. And they conquered it on the second day, and he smote by the sword, and everything was there, just like he did to Livna. Az Allah Horam Melech Gezer L'Azor Es Lachish. Then this king of Horam, the king of Gezer. So Gezer is way up top there. Look way straight north. Is Gezer. Gezer came to help out his buddy over here. Okay, to help his Lachishites. The Gezers and the Lachishas were very, very friendly. Okay, you're going to mess with us. You're going to get involved. You're going to get the short end of the stick, and they were killed. Vaya'ar Yehoshua v'chol Yisrael imam Lachish Eglona. Then they went from there to Eglon. Here, Eglon is all the way almost is most south on the map. Again, there you see just all these marks. Again, those represent battle sites and conquests. And they camped there and they did battle. And they conquered it and they did battle all the souls there on that day. Etc. Just like they did to Lachish. And then you see from Eglon, that's why the word Vaya'al. See, Hebron is considered slightly north. Slightly north. If you look on the map, like slightly northeast from Eglon to Hebron. They went up, but also because do I have it on this one? I don't know if it's going to give me, but slightly, it's going up the mountain as well. Hebron is on a mountain, and by the way, that's why if you ever wonder, like places like Gush Etzion, for instance, because of its elevated territory, that's why they are more likely to get snow in a bad winter situation than other parts of Israel, right? So, on the coast, they're never going to see snow. But over here in Beit Shemesh or places like that, places that are elevated or in Yerushalayim, that's why they'll see snow. This is already just been so well worth. I'm so happy. Can I just say how happy I am that I finally brought this home? I was like, a small one's too small. The big one's too big, but this is just right. We have to open the market here. So they went up to Eglon and they encamped there, and Vayakul of Vicharev, Ves Milka, Ves Malka, Okay, then they went to they did everything. They took care of business there. Again, it's rather repetitive, slightly different verbiage each time. Nothing going to get too excited about. Vayashav Yehoshua v'chol Yisrael imo Devira. Then they went back to Devir. Vayashav see Hebron, they're up. Then they go back down to Devir, which is all the way in the bottom of this map here. It says here Debir. Okay. Devir, which is sort of on the other side of the map, if you look at sort of north of Beersheba, okay, and they did battle there. Vayil Kedah as the Esmalka, Ves Kolarev, Akum Fichar, Vachim Levshik Asher Bala Shir Sarid, Kasher Asal Chevron, Ken Asal Devir, Lamalka, Kasher Asal Livna Ulamalka. They did damage and they took care of everything just like they did everywhere else. Then Vayakeh Yehoshua, this is a little bit more general. We're just going to take this to the end of the chapter, and then I'm going to share something with you. Vayakeh Yehoshua es kol haaretz hahar v'hanegev v'hashefela v'ashedos v'es kol machehem lo hishir sarit v'es kol haneshama achrim kasher tzivah Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Then Yehoshua, he conquers the entire land because these seem to be the main sort of established kingdoms. I mean, mind you, when we spoke about it in the beginning, we talked about 31 kingdoms. They were not united at all. Some of them united to go into battle, but they didn't do them any good. But there's only like little different factions or city-states, whatever you want to call them, that existed in the land of Israel at the time, in the land of Canaan. And Yeshua then now, he takes care of them. Once he takes care of that, then if you want to look sort of at the other map, it's going to go sort of conquer this whole area, is he then conquers the entire land. Now, when the entire land doesn't mean the entire land of Israel, it means the entire land of this region of the south of Israel, okay, of the mountain, the south, the lowland, the waterfalls, and all their kings. And when it says waterfalls, now where do the waterfalls come from? What waterfalls? Because if you ever read these stories of people that are hiking, and it just happened a couple of weeks ago in Nebuch, it was a sad story. It was an 8-year-old boy that was killed in a rockfall because of in Ein Gedi. But when you walk towards the desert here, okay. So when there's rain, or if there's snow or something, and then when it melts or in the season, so then it runs off. The runoff is towards. That's why you have these stories of when they have these like you're in the desert, there's water, get out of the way. No, because it comes so fast and furious, and that's what it says. All the waterfalls in the lower part when it comes from the highlands to the lowlands. So here he conquers everything from all those regions. He didn't leave any remnant. He destroyed every soul, just like Hashem commanded. Kasher tzivah Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Vayakem Yehoshua mikadesh Barnea va'ad Azah. So he conquers from Kadesh Barnea, which is on one side, all the way to Azah. Azah's Gaza is the coast. So you're covering the whole region here. Okay. Ves kol eretz Goshen va'ad Givon, and the whole land of Goshen to Givon. So you have this. It's basically encapsulating the entire bottom half of the country. Okay, and Yeshua because he killed every king and every leader, etc. Why? Because Hashem, the God of Israel, was waging war for Israel. Right? How do we? Is it in this? Let me just think of it. No, it's not. It's different language, similar language, but we have a lot of language in different places where Hashem battles for us, like in Exodus. Hashem yilachem lachem v'atem tacharishun. Hashem will battle for you, and you just have to be quiet. But we have a similar verbiage that we say in the 444 in the Art Scroll. 444 in the Art Scroll. In the prayer for Tzahal, V'kuyamem hakasav ki Hashem Elokeichem halechem achem lihilachem lachem im avechem lahashiaschem v'nomar amen. The pasuk does not say v'nomar amen, by the way. It's a little added because we fulfill the pasuk that says Hashem will goes with you to battle your enemies for you and to save you. That's the original. That comes from the original text of the Chumash, but we use similar verbiage here. That again, everything is, and it can't be stressed enough because the more battles someone wins, the more likely the more tendency they'll have to say, "Oh yeah, look how good we are." we say that somebody who's standing on third base thinking he hit a triple, when really he just had a rich father. Let's finish the chapter. Vayashav Yehoshua v'chol Yisrael yemo el hamachana haGilgala. Then he returns everybody to the camp to Gilgal. Okay, they took care of the southern conquest. I want to share with you what Rabbi Hatton writes here. Really, really interesting. The way he illustrates the land. Here, so he says. Again, we're going to look at contrasting the northern conquest and the southern conquest. At the Battle of Givon, the enemy army was comprised of at least 5 distinct forces. We had the 5 kings, as you mentioned, and their defeat at the hands of Yehoshua effectively ended any military opposition to slow but steady Israelite expansion to the territory, the area later associated with the tribal lands of Yehuda and Benjamin. At the same time, by capturing the towns of Yarmut, Lachish, and Eglon, all of them strategically sited at the western approaches to these hills. Again, so if we look at, you have when we say Benjamin and Yehuda, that's the area of like Jerusalem. So if you're on the map with me on the second on this map, no, this one. So if you go to Jerusalem and you go west towards Kiryat Yearim, okay, this mountain region is called the Hare Yehuda. That's the mountains of Yehuda. The Binyamin district is everything above, north of Jerusalem. So if you drive out of Yerushalayim, let's say through Piskat Ze'ev, and you go to a place called Geva Binyamin, Adam, on the way to Psagod, or, you want to hang out in Ramallah, or whatever it is that, makes you happy, that area, you'll see a sign which has a picture of the Ze'ev, of the wolf, is Binyamin, because Binyamin Ze'ev Yitraf. So that's the Binyamin region. So he says that they have, but then by capturing the towns of Yarmush, Lachish, and Eglon, all of them at as you go sort of to the west, Yarmush, Eglon, etc., that whole area here, then what's happening? He negated the possibility of any military involvement by the Canaanites who dwelt on the coast. Okay, so we're like basically cutting off lines strategically, and they would have to deal with that. So the first one was so here now this is what I like. He says the geographic progression of Yehoshua's battles can therefore be reconstruction. After taking Yericho, that protected the Jordan Valley. Okay, so Yericho is right here. Okay, so you have the Jordan Valley. This is why it's called the valley, obviously, with the Jordan River, but it cuts really up through the valley. You can actually feel it. My fingertips like nice. Okay, so after taking Yericho, that protected the Jordan Valley, and then he captured the cities of the Central Hill Country by defeating Ai and Beit El. Remember, we went over here. This is Ai and Beit El, but again, it's in the mountain area. Okay. And he was able to drive a wedge between the southern and northern halves of this territory. As we said earlier, that this by conquering these, you can almost feel it here, like right at the top of Yericho, and then going over this way, this northern half is cut off. Now we could focus on the southern half. Okay, the southern kings were no longer able to enlist the support of the northern neighbors in the campaign against them. Okay, and it makes the Israelites' campaign easier. The northern kings now stood alone by Chatzor, which we're going to get to in the next chapter, and then they look and they have to go now and deal with this. So it's that's why it's like so important to see as again I don't do much battle, but well, not this kind, is to go when they come in here. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks, like, why bring them in there? Well, there they get situated. This is an easy place for them to cross, by the way. They don't have to worry to cross in from Jordan, because they're coming up from Mitzrayim up into Jordan. Cut across, start the conquering, divide and conquer. Divide the upper part of the country, the lower part, and then cut them off. And also over here to take away the coast. So as we know, the coastal neighbors were very, very strong. The Canaanites, we'll see, are eventually the Plishtim. Why were they strong? Because again, connects to Egypt this way, connects to the Sinai and to Egypt this way, which is why they're coming up from Egypt over here. They should have been able to just kind of like go, no, we have to go this way. Okay, but this is why it helps put it into perspective, help us understand why and how important it is for us to know the geography and the layout of the land. So we'll see, God willing, next time we'll look at the upper part of the continent or on the continent of the country, and we'll see how they go. So if you want, I can hold on to the maps if you want to hold on to them, but we'll see this more as we go on. But now again, here we'll get up to chapter Perek Aleph. Perek Aleph is very exciting, right? And you see, it is the same, right? But you see, it's like the circle. But you can see sort of the root of that, and the root is very, very important, as we know. And yeah, good. I'll keep everybody posted. I'll send the recordings and such. But great to be back, and yeah, amazing. Nice to see you, Gila. Bye.
Bye.